Hey gang, it's Thursday at 5, and we are here for the eighth Oscar Realtor show. Before we get started, I didn't even tell you I was going to do this.
Oh, surprise.
Surprise. Oh, let me refresh. Let me preface this show by saying this is one you may have to go back and look at again. The concept of agency is something that even confuses realtors in the beginning. So long ago, all the real estate agents worked for the sellers. There wasn't agency. Every agent was working for the seller to sell the house. So that has changed. Back around 2000, I think, just before I started in real estate, back when the dinosaurs were here, they introduced something called buyer agency. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You're starting, right?
I am starting. First thing we're going to go over is the three main ways you can be represented by an agent. So the first way is seller agency, which is what Aggie said that we first started with. So that's the agent that is listing the house. It's a listing agent. They work for the seller and only the seller. The next one is buyer agency. So this is the buyer's agent, and they work solely for the buyer and are representing the buyer only. And then there's dual agency, which is what it sounds like. The agent is representing both the seller and the buyer in the same transaction. When you're going in dual agency, confidentiality is key. So if I'm a dual agent and I know the seller will come down even $1 on their list price, I can't go back and tell the buyer, and vice versa.
Well done.
Anything to add to that?
No, that was good.
Okay.
They might not have to watch it a second time.
Next, benefits of having a buyer's agent. There are a lot of these. Number one, they're looking out just for you. Again, having a buyer's agent, they're only working for the buyer and not the seller. A buyer's agent can show you any and all properties. You don't have to call the person on the sign. You can call your buyer's agent and say, this is the house I want to see, and then we can schedule a showing and show it to you.
Or these are the 10 houses I
right.
want to see, and the agent can take care of all that.
Right. Another one is that they negotiate for you and only you. They're trying to get you the best price for the home. One way that we do that is we do a market analysis. So we take homes in the area that are similar, and we adjust for things like bedrooms, bathrooms, size of the land, things like that, and basically take apples and oranges and make them all apples. And that's how we can advise you on what kind of offer to make. So again, we're trying to get you the best price for the home. Another one is we can put you on an auto notification. So this comes directly from the MLS, and we take all the criteria, so how much you want to spend for the house, if you need a certain amount of bedrooms, any other specifics that you have, and then it goes right to your email. So as soon as a new listing comes on that fits in that criteria, you'll get it in your email and you can view it right there. So that's extremely helpful as well. Another one, most or all of the buyer agent's commission is paid by the seller. So normally, well, I shouldn't say normally, sometimes you won't have to pay us anything. We'll get into that, though.
That's my
Another one is we can refer you to lenders. You can go to our website at cometothecastle.com.
What was that again?
Cometothecastle.com. And if you scroll down to Trusted Pros, you can click on that, and it'll bring you to a page with a bunch of trusted lenders, inspectors, a bunch of other things that you can call, and then you can get pre-qualified. And that's one of the first things that we'll have you do when you start looking at houses. Another one, we're familiar with the market. Another thing you can find on our website is market statistics. Things like the average selling price in Palmerton, Lehighton, and other areas. That's also really helpful. This is long. Another one, just a few more. We negotiate after the inspection. So once you get inspections done, you'll get a report back, and we can help you negotiate what things you want to ask the seller to fix, and we'll help you negotiate through the whole thing. We come to the closing, so if anything goes wrong in closing, we'll be there. We'll, of course, help to make it go right. Next, and the last, help with all the paperwork. So we explain everything that you sign, and we can go over that with you as well.
Tons of benefits to having a
Yeah,
buyer's
this isn't
agent.
all. There's more than this.
Right.
These are the most important ones.
And a lot of folks don't realize that this is the option.
Right.
But they are told about this option of
Yeah.
having a buyer's agent. Segue. When you, let's say you're a Joe buyer and you want to buy your first house, and you find a house online that looks interesting, you call the agent. Again, usually it is the listing agent. No, usually it's not. Because now you're probably looking on Zillow.
That's true.
And Zillow usually has, they'll list the listing agent, and they'll also have probably like 3 other buyer agents who advertise on there. So the odds are that you'll get an agent who will be looking to be a buyer's agent for you. So anyway, you'll call and say, hey, I want to see this house at 123 Main Street. They'll say, okay, I can show it this afternoon at 5, because they're a good agent. And the house is vacant. And so you'll go there, you'll meet the agent. Before the agent shows you the house, there are more than likely 2 forms that they're going to go over with you. The first form is a consumer notice. This is a notice that's required by the Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission. All agents, no matter, have to go over this form with clients at their first substantive discussion about real estate. So if you just call an agent and scheduled to look at it, your first substantive conversation is probably going to be when you get to the property. So a consumer notice is not a contract. It's not binding in any sort. It's more of an informative form. They'll explain to you actually what Courtney went over about the 3 different kinds of agency. And then in bold at the bottom it says, unless you sign a written contract, the agent is not representing you. So they want buyers to know that some agents, they'll go out and look at houses with buyers. They won't have them sign anything. And the buyer thinks that the agent is looking out for their best interests. But according to the Real Estate Commission, if they haven't signed something, not the consumer notice, because that's not binding, but if they haven't signed one of the second forms, a buyer agency contract, then the agent's not representing them. So the 2 forms that they're going to most likely go over with you at your first meeting is the consumer notice, which tells you about your option to have a buyer's agent, and a buyer agency contract. There are 2 kinds. How many? 2 kinds of buyer agency contracts. Usually at a first meeting, it's common, we at Castlegate use something called a non-exclusive buyer agency contract. This is a contract that's simply where the agent and the buyer agree, hey, look, we're only going to be bound to work together on houses that the agent shows the buyer. But the buyer's going to be free to work with another agent later that day, tomorrow, whenever they want. But if they sign this non-exclusive buyer agency contract, it says that if they buy that house that the agent showed them, they're going to go through that agent. And in return, the agent's going to give them all of the benefits that Courtney listed, plus more of being a buyer's agent. So the 2 kinds of buyer agency contracts are non-exclusive, or there's one that is exclusive. An exclusive buyer agency contract says, I'm going to work with you and only you for a certain period of time, meaning the buyer is going to work with that agent and only that agent. So when they enter into this kind of contract, they're showing more loyalty. Again, you wouldn't be asked to sign that probably at the first meeting because you don't know the agent from anybody. And actually, I'm going to encourage you not to sign an exclusive buyer agency. I know, I surprised myself. Until you find an agent that you know, like, and trust. That you trust their expertise, not just that they make you laugh and have fun, but that they know what they're doing. When you find that agent and you trust that agent, I am going to encourage you to sign an exclusive buyer agency contract. And you might be thinking, well, if I signed a non-exclusive, why do I have to sign an exclusive? Did you find yourself thinking that?
Right.
Well, the difference is loyalty. Sometimes agents only have 24 hours in a day, and they only work 23 of those hours.
Because the other hour is sleeping.
So let's say it's a Friday evening, and I get a call from buyer A who has a non-exclusive agency contract with me, and a call from buyer B who has an exclusive buyer agency contract with me, and they both want to see a house in an hour. And I obviously can't be in two places at one time. I more than likely will give the exclusive agency contract buyer that time slot, because that buyer has given me that loyalty as well. Did I explain that well?
I think so.
Thank you.
If you have questions, you can always contact us
at
610
No,
379
okay. Yeah, flag. Or our website.
That too.
And you can text our phone number. That's 610-3795. Commercials are fun. We can do commercials. It's our show. All right. So, buyer agency fees and commissions. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Long ago, when there was mainly seller agent, or before, oh, there's a can of worms we're not going to open, are we? Fees and commissions are negotiable, whether you're working with a seller's agent or a buyer's agent or a dual agent. Just remember that realtor fees are always negotiable. The non-exclusive buyer agency that I told you about, there's usually no commitment to anybody paying a fee when you enter into that contract. And that contract usually means the buyer is going to accept whatever the seller is paying for the buyer agency commission. Here we go, more worms. Okay, we're not scared. So when a seller lists their house with a listing agent, they usually negotiate a commission. They're going to pay a commission to that listing agent for selling the house. That commission, whatever the amount is commonly split in some form or manner with a buyer agent. So that's why we said most or all of the commission for the buyer's agent is not paid by the buyer, but rather by the seller. That's what's common now in 2018. So the non-exclusive buyer agency, the agent just agrees to take whatever the seller split of their commission is. So it doesn't cost the buyer anything. In an exclusive buyer agency contract, there can be fees and minimum commissions. And again, if you've got a buyer agent who's at the top of their game and doing all of these things for you and looking out for you, they're well worth the sometimes 0.5% difference, of the sale price for a commission. So basically they may ask you to pay a minimum commission. So I can't use an example, but if they say, I'm worth X% as a buyer's agent, but the seller's agent is only offering X% minus 0.5%. Oh gosh, we're deep in the worms now. The buyer would have to pay that difference, and not out of pocket. Again, it would be rolled into your closing costs at settlement. And the last note I want to say is the difference between fees and commissions. Sometimes there's non-negotiable fees that some buyer agents negotiate, and they get paid whether you buy a house or not. But anything commissions, that's only if you buy the house, close on the house, that's when that agent gets paid. Buyer agents are awesome, but for a buyer to not have a buyer agent today...
it's like almost unsafe.
Yeah, say, well, if you go up and you say, I don't want to sign anything, then you're basically saying that you want to go in...
unprotected.
Non-represented,
right.
Which is no... So basically the agent then is just going to be a tour guide, because they're not looking out for your best interests. They'll show you the house, but they may not point out that, look, there's no gutters and downspouts. Look, the slope of the land.
There's a crack in the ceiling.
Yeah, things that are evident, they're not going to point out to you. Where a buyer's agent would. And the more you work with one agent, a buyer's agent, the more they get to know you, what you're looking for, what you don't want. And then they really shine when they start to negotiate and help you get through that whole process. Anybody post any questions? Let me check. don't think so. I don't think we posted in. If you have any questions, or if you are in the process of buying a house, or you're about to buy a house and you'd like a buyer's agent, most agents can be buyer agents. We're all trained in what that is. But there are some who are just specially buyer agents, and they do a great job. And of course, we can help you there.
Yep.
Courtney is an awesome buyer agent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We covered a lot.
We did.
Did we forget anything?
I don't think so.
Oh, we're 2 minutes past time.
That's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, people are enjoying this.
Thanks for tuning in. This video is going to be on YouTube, in our YouTube library. So feel free to share it. Tune in next week when we go over... What is it? Oh. Information needed to write a contract.
Oh, so, that's going to be a good one.
So, like, once you go out and look at a few houses and you find the one that's the one, what you have to do next in order to put that offer in. Thanks, guys.
Bye.